Hello folks, how you doing? It's Martin Kelly here with GSD Global Media. We're on the last day of the Australian National and we're giving you a couple of ringside chats. And today I'm joined by one of the original power couples in GSDs, Louis and Gail Donald. Guys, thanks so much for joining me. I'm thrilled to have you.
Thank you for having us here.
So, if I could start with yourself, Louis, can you take us back to the context that brought about the very first National? As someone who was there at the very beginning, how did it come about? What was its context at the time that gave birth to it?
Right, yes. Well, in a way, it really starts in 1928. So in 1928, an importation ban was put on German Shepherd dogs coming into Australia. And the basis of that was really stemming from the name of the breed in those pre-1928 era, Alsatian wolf dog. The government in power were pastoralists, and that's a period where the saying was Australia lives off the sheep's back, wool, and anything that threatened that was treated seriously. And so, unfortunately, the name wolf dog, in the mind of some pastoralists, were in an environment where the native dog is a dingo, and the dingoes attack sheep, that if the wolf dog mated with the dingo, you would have the super sheep killer. And with that, a connotation of savage dog in the minds of the public. And that got a lot of exposure in the press. In fact, the leading newspaper at the time was The Land, because that's who bought the paper. And in that magazine, there was a lot of bad publicity, in effect saying, this is a savage dog. And so there was a minister moved an act in Parliament to ban the importation of German Shepherd dogs for life, and that was put in place. And just catapulting forward, that remained in place until 1972, 42 years. So, with an importation ban in place from 1928, around about 1965, the German Shepherd Dog Council of Australia, which had been recently formed, decided that they should bring a German judge to Australia to assess the breed, which meant that he was assessing a breed with no importations prior to that date of about 40 years. Just this tiny blood base had been the totality of breeding in Australia for almost 30 years. You can imagine, well, they all looked a bit the same. And if you talk about inbreeding depression, can you imagine?
Australia was a pride.
An interesting part of that is that during that time, in our investigations of the history, there wasn't any long coats.
Okay.
No, so no long coat gene existed in those bloodlines.
And that highlights the closeness of the blood families back then.
Correct. And the predominant colour was washed out pale colour.
Yeah.
And without going into details, which I can easily do,
Gail is on lunch break.
Right, yeah, you've probably
You have
heard
to go
this.
into the ring.
You've heard this unfair reputation I have. Lou talks too much. It's completely untrue.
We are here to slam these rumours.
Right.
I mean, he did write a book, but we are here to slam the rumours.
So the colour and the type in 1967, when we had our first national, reflected dogs that existed in Germany in 1928.
So it shows how behind Australia was as a result of this ban.
And the colour and the type of the dogs in 1928, 1925 in Germany, that's what existed here.
Okay.
So if you came to Australia as Herr Hutter did, he was the SV judge, in effect, he was walking into a time warp.
Yeah.
So he's left Germany in 1967.
Yeah.
He steps off the plane in Australia and walks into a dog show from 1928 in type.
Yeah.
And it was a huge shock. He wasn't prepared for it. and he didn't quite understand it. So the basis of the German Shepherd Dog's requirement of the SV was that we've got this ban, and the ban's still in place, so the ban hasn't been lifted. The ban's still in place in 1967, because it wasn't until 1972.
Yeah.
So can you give us an assessment of the breed, and given everything that's happened and where we're at, how do we move forward?
Yeah. A cry for help in one sense.
Correct. And we want Dr. Funk. And Dr. Funk at that time was starting to struggle a little bit with, I think, his legs, and he had the walking stick and so on. So he sent Herr Hutter. And Herr Hutter, because I was 20 then, so I was born in 1947, 67, I was 20. In my mind, he was an old man. Actually, probably 20 years younger than I am now. But to me, he was an old dude, right? And a classic, old-style German.
Yeah. Stuck in his ways, yeah.
So he arrived. The projection that we gave would be that we would get maybe 100 entries. So this was the first true German Shepherd specialist show ever held in Australia. It was an all-breeds environment up until then. So Herr Hutter arrived, and instead of 100 dogs, one day judging was the program, and everything organised for that. We get almost 400.
Best laid plans.
So on the Friday night, the talks with Herr Hutter, we've got 400. I can't do that 400 in 2 days, in 1 day. Okay, we'll extend the show to Sunday. So can you imagine for the organisation on a Friday, we're now going to tell everyone it's now over 2 days.
Yeah.
Dogs first, females second.
Yeah.
At that time, I had 3 dogs. My first dog, Mac, his sister Tony, and a female who I bred who was the daughter of Tony. So a dog and 2 bitches. And so they start judging on the Saturday. I had never looked at the teeth of my dogs, nor had anybody else with a German Shepherd dog looked at the teeth of their dogs, because in the all-breeds environment, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
If you were lucky, it was a quick look.
Yeah.
So no one really knew anything about teeth. So when Hutter started judging, this was his process, and you can imagine the shock for the exhibitors who were used to an all-breeds environment. So Hutter brings the first class in. Dog's presented to him. He looks, it's got a missing P3, P2, whatever. You can leave the room. No carry on any further, because he's got this huge entry, and to him, P3, what's the point? So to the shock and horror of exhibitors, you're told to leave the ring immediately.
So it probably stands to reason that he might have got through the entries probably in a day. And from those humble beginnings, I mean, the National really has developed and expanded. We've got dogs in from Germany, we've got dogs that have been bred here and done very well and successfully. Gail, I'm wondering, as it stands now, what do you think makes the National so special? Because it is one of the highlights of the international calendar.
It is. I guess for each individual, there's a special involvement, and mine spans now too many years to think about. Starting from exhibiting, handling when I became involved with Louis, and that's transitioned in many ways over the decades. It progressed to the photography. And now it's that plus my involvement with the council, and my involvement in putting on this national. So there's those elements. I think it's the one true show where there's a lot of team camaraderie,
of course.
A lot of team rivalry, and it just pulls everyone together. I think all the other shows, yes, they're terrific. But the National just is the highlight of the year for everybody.
Of course, it's where the 4 corners of Australia come together every single year.
And we've got massive distances to cover.
Yeah, and on that note, obviously, so people come with their dogs from every part of the country. Are there any dogs that have been presented over the years that have particularly caught your eye and found them particularly special?
That's probably a question for Louis, more than myself. But I have to say that one dog that caught my eye particularly was a dog that I co-owned.
Conveniently.
Yes. Macho from Lamrack.
Yes, of course.
Yes, gold medal winner, and he's a bit of a heart boy for me.
Yeah. And Louis, on that note as well, I mean, you had the honour of judging the national a couple of years ago. In terms of, obviously you've officiated and attended a number of the elite events in our world, in our sport, how does it rank and compare, and were there any particular highlights of your judging experience?
Yeah. I actually, I've judged national twice.
Yeah.
The first one was, I think, the third national or fourth national, and I judged puppies. And that's interesting because if I reflect back on, say, numbers, and as we all know, entries are declining.
Yes.
Like this weekend, I think we've got 17 puppies, just 70 puppies. When I judged the puppies at the first time I did the national, we had 262 puppies. So that's played a big impact on our events, and also in relation to other events. I think also, if I think of the national that I judged recently, which was the open dog class, if I think about that from a judge's perspective, it was a conundrum, actually, a conundrum. And I think an important issue in that when I judge any German Shepherd dog show, I see the function as being one to provide breed guidance. That's a bit different to that is the best animal in the class, because historically, for example, with German Seegers, most German Seegers have been duds as far as stud dogs go. So for me, I put a lot of time and effort into trying to provide breed guidance. So when I judged the national, the question became, do I judge it on the basis of providing breed direction and allowing that to influence what I do, as opposed to you don't know any of the dogs and you just place the best dogs first to last. So from a judging point of view, that I think is fundamental for me to how I treated the national. And what I did in the end was played it in the middle, a bit of both, to keep both sides happy. Yeah. Having said that, one of the things that I learned very on, or became aware of as a judge, is that unfortunately the majority of the people that attend a dog show when I judge will go away not being winners. And how you overcome that, I'm not quite sure. But I think providing a balance between the two worked out. And if I reflect on how would I compare that to other similar events, now it's getting back into your area, was the English National that I judged whenever. It was a long time ago.
As a neighbouring country, the English National.
With Malcolm Willis.
Yes.
And I think we had 650 entries at that national. And that was on a par with our nationals. You know, I think that the model, which is probably, they're all built around the Seeger Show model, aren't they? So they're quite similar, I think.
So that was really a really strong highlight for you during those years.
And still today, if somebody said to me, so what are the highlights of your life as a judge? I would put the English National ahead of the Australian National. And the reason for that is that to have breeders, and it's predominantly breeders, from a foreign country invite you to come and judge their larger show, that's a bigger deal than I think being invited to judge your local event. So for me, the highlight of my whole judging career was judging the English National.
Yeah, I mean, as Irish exhibitors, we like to travel over and go there as well. It's a very premier show for the UK scene, and it attracts other internationals as well. And in terms of the highlights of your own show every year, is there something in particular every year at the National you always look forward to seeing?
People. People. Actually, in truth, you could the right answer, I think, should be seeing the new dogs or the top dogs.
Yeah.
That's the appropriate answer. But for me, I actually put meeting friends, meeting new friends, like you. You know, I'm a fan of yours.
Thank you.
A fan of yours. You do a wonderful job, and a huge credit to you.
Thank you.
The work you put in, and I know how much work goes into that, and it's a huge credit to you, and I couldn't give you enough accolades.
Thank you very much.
So it's meeting new people, seeing old friends, like the camera lady.
Like Joe Cathy, our camera.
Joe Cathy. Seriously, that to me is the best part of it.
Yeah.
And then it's seeing obviously good dogs.
Gail, what about you? I know obviously you spend a lot of it working, but are there any particular highlights of it?
I do. I agree with Louis because we're so far apart and we don't always go to the same shows or get across to, say, Perth. I get to meet all these wonderful people that I know on Facebook. It's a bit like going to the Z show. You're friends with lots of people on Facebook, but you don't actually get to really talk to them or communicate with them very closely, and it's wonderful. I just love it.
Absolutely. And on the back of what you made, I mean, of all the work that goes into the content that we've all created. I mean, Gail, you're the editor of the National Magazine. What can we expect in the next issue? Can you give us any insiders?
I think there's an interview with Mark Kelly.
Oh, is that right? It's news to me.
Wow.
I think so. Yeah. We haven't quite got to do the interview yet, but we will.
I'm too busy trying to interview everyone else.
That's right. The next magazine is all about the National. So summaries, all the photographs that I've got a team of photographers here for the weekend. Every dog is photographed, and we put a full summation in. The judge's summation, the obedience work's very important. So it becomes a historical document, really, this next one. And then we've got spring and summer to come with lots of new and exciting things. And I'm also proposing to try and get it sent out as not only as a subscription and sent out in hard copy to members, but working a solution so that we still do a hard print,
Of course.
but make a digital subscription available to the world, because the magazine's just growing.
Absolutely,
and getting a lot more recognition overseas, and I'm really proud of that.
An absolute credit goes to you for that as well. It's fantastic. Louis, some people would say sucker for punishment going in to write another book after the mammoth work that was involved in the definitive German Shepherd. How is the new book going?
Good.
Yeah.
And it's again, you know, I think of the impact that dogs have had on me through my whole life. Meeting Gail, which is through Madeline Pickup, and the impact that's had on my life has been huge. Friends I've met, just so many aspects of my life have been impacted by dogs. Things I never thought about. Well, when you're younger, when you're your age, right, are when you retire and you start to get a few years on you, it's really important to keep your brain active. Body and brain, and I work on both.
Yeah.
And so, whilst the writing can be quite tiring, and at times stressful, because of the complexities that develop, it's really good for me because it keeps my mind active. So, writing this next book, on the one hand, creates a little bit of work, but it's very healthy for me.
Of course.
The concept of that book is this. With my current book, which, as you know, is now sold out and we're not doing a reprint, the chapters that were the most popular were anatomy and gait.
Yeah.
It's about 300 pages. And so I had a lot of feedback during and after the book had been sold out. Is there any chance of getting a book just for those two chapters?
Sure.
And it's more mobile. I thought, well, yeah, I could do that. The other thing was that I'd had a lot of people buy the book outside German Shepherd dogs, particularly from the herding
Yeah, of course.
areas.
Because it's all relevant for pastoral breeding.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And so I thought, okay, I'll write a book, include the 2 chapters,
Yeah.
but including herding dogs. And I thought there's probably 15 herding dogs. Turns out there's almost 50. And that, all that work is almost complete. And I'm hoping that the book's released around about December, and we'll run off 2,000 copies. It'll be about 600 pages. And
beautiful photography.
oh, that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
And also the most challenging. And we can apply what I'm going to say now to German Shepherd dogs.
Yeah.
So with each breed, there will be the breed standard.
Sure.
But I've taken the breed standards, which tend to be a bit stereotypical, staccato-like.
There is common templates. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've actually converted that into a critique.
Okay.
So then you've got a photograph, high quality photograph of what a breed expert in that particular breed would consider to be a reflection of my critique. So when you open the page, here is a critique of the ideal dog.
The visual
because the
aid,
breed
yeah.
standard's the ideal, and there's the image of the dog. And the photographs have to be of a very high standard, without people, without interference, and an example of an outstanding dog of that breed.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tremendous boon for anyone who's doing their pastoral.
Of course, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've no doubt it will be a major success, and wish you the best of luck with
Thank
it, guys.
you.
And
Thank you.
you so much for joining me for this Ringside chat.
Been a
National. It's been
pleasure.
an absolute pleasure to speak to you about.
And you've enjoyed Australia?
I've loved it. Absolutely loved it. I hope to make this an annual.
Keeps,
that'd be
keeps
wonderful.
coming in the ring. He's doing a great job. And he's,
Doing my best.
Yeah, getting great placings too.
Well, doing my best. I have to fly the flag for Ireland, you know?
Yeah.
No, we were absolutely thrilled when we heard you were coming.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, it's been a thrill to sit down and speak with you guys. It really has.
Thank
You
you.
so much. And thank you everyone for watching. We'll be back with a few more Ringside chats before the National wraps up. But until then, take care, and we'll be back very soon.